These altcoins about to take off. Looking at Bitcoin first. This is NC Hammer Crypto. My name is Neil. Keeping technical analysis short and sweet, clear, bullish momentum, consolidation, another potential move to the upside before a little bit more consolidation at this previous high, and then ultimately creating a new all-time high. Jumping right over to CTSI. For those of you who are in CTSI, you are very well positioned. As we see very high increase in volume, the RSI is very healthy, and we are crossing over a downward trend line as well as getting up over that 200 EMA. This looks very, very similar to something like XYO, which I will bring up in this video. But if you have not entered CTSI, now is like your prime opportunity to get into this right before Bitcoin starts moving upwards. Currently at 8 cents, all-time high of $1.79. May not seem like much, but you know, XRP moving from 50 cents to 350 was substantial. This is a lot bigger potential profit. Not saying to buy this over XRP, but 1,984 just to get to the all-time high, which is nearly 20x your money. So if you have less than a dime, put it in CTSI, see what happens. None of this is financial advice, but this is extremely, extremely bullish at this moment in time. IOTX. Consolidation period, trying to break over that 200 EMA as we've been talking about for the past couple of weeks. It is testing it yet again and trying to get over it. The real ultimate thing that we need to get over is about 0.034 cents before we start seeing some major movement in IOTX. Getting in at this point may not be the best entry. You want to see it hold over that 200 EMA, and when it does, then you can expect that push up to 0.034, and if it breaks 0.034, the next real resistance is anywhere from 0.057 to 0.062. Double money potential right there. IOTX at less than 3 cents, all-time high of 49 cents, also a very good ROI. Buying at the bottom and just holding would be your best opportunity for IOTX. Throw 3 cents at it, throw $1 at it, see what happens, and see the potential profit that you can make off of a small investment, off of diversification. I had talked about Spell in a previous video, Tornado Cash, constantly bringing it up in all my videos. If you have been following me, you have been up over 100% from our entry point on the trading signal channel, up to the 1547, which is currently we had our entry at 750, another entry at 11, another entry around 13 to 14 before that push up. And now we are testing this as support for the next leg up, which is double money, roughly $27 to $30 for Tornado Cash. Can be traded on MEXC, references in the description below. Greatly appreciated if you use it, and if you do, you get 10 USDT free, which about a month or two ago could buy you more than one full Tornado Cash. Now it can get you at least a little bit over half a Tornado Cash using that reference link below for MEXC, but constant promotion on Tornado Cash. Nobody's asking me to do it. It's just something that can make you money, but not financial advice in any way, obviously. AERO Finance following this downward wedge pattern, 200 EMA, keeping it nice and close. We could expect a little bit more retracement, but ultimately, once we touch this downward trend line again, we could start seeing AERO Finance moving to new all-time highs. Currently at $1.20. Previous all-time high at 236. Not a whole bunch of information for how high this thing can go, but it does have a very good utility. If you do not know about Aerodrome, definitely do your own research. Flare coin. Let's do an upward trend line for Flare. This is kind of what we need to hold. We could also state that we are starting to build a new higher low, readjusting this trend line to be a little bit more bullish. This is the range where we could expect it to retrace within. The 200 EMA is very strong. It's in this downward channel, but we've touched it 3 times to the top, twice to the bottom, excuse me. And third touch usually shows pretty strong weakness for this downward trend line, and we can start seeing Flare take off like we have seen happen in the past, where we have that push up. We have a little bit of consolidation downwards, push up, consolidation, and the continuation up to 0.05 cents, currently at 2 cents, but partnering with XRP where you can stake your XRP and earn passive income just from having money saved, which is always the best way to have your money, making money for you. Buying or investing into Flare at 2 cents, you would not regret it, as I don't think we are going to be seeing 2 cents anywhere near in the future. The next real low we might see is around the 5 cent mark once we break that previous high. But Flare is definitely something to keep in mind. If you have a few bucks, toss it at it, see what happens. Not financial advice. Compound, all-time high of nearly $1,000. Testing this 200 EMA for the 7th time. Very weak on the 200 EMA. You see it's staying very close. It's not pushing it down below this upward trend line right here. We are currently at the $46 mark. If you missed your entry at 42, anywhere in these previous opportunities, 46 is typically where it has that strong push upwards. And beyond 46, the real rejection is at $53, potentially $50, holding stability. But that would be our third touch to this downward trend line. If we can break that, we could expect that move to $61. Beyond $61, there's not a whole bunch of resistance until maybe 100. So definitely double money. It is a $50 investment as opposed to the pennies that you could be investing in others. But the all-time high, we actually have some information for Compound. This is around $903 for its all-time high. And for the $50 investment, if you were just to put 50 here, 50 in one of the other two coins I previously recommended, this potential gain to the all-time high is also around 1,906% potential profit. So this is why we diversify our portfolio instead of going all in on one. Me personally, I do heavily on specific coins like XRP, XCN, XYO, but then diversifying, put a couple hundred here, a couple hundred there, grab some profits, put it into other coins that have high potential. This is at an absolute low. It's not going to go much lower than this. This black trend line right here is ultimately the support that is just a brick wall. We are not going lower than $38, but getting over this 200 EMA is very important. We see that when it happened last time, we had that push up, came back down, could not hold underneath the 200 EMA for the last touch, and had that ultimate push up towards around 140. 140 is roughly where you would be looking at for the next real resistance, I guess 90 to 140. 618 is here at $100, which is what I always recommend before a small retracement, possibly down to 80. But really, once we get over this 200 EMA, you are going to wish you spent $50 on Compound, because it can go to 125 within a day or two, and then from there, you're not going to spend 125 for the same coin you could buy at 46, and then it will 10x minimum from that $100 range to 140. So just with all that being said, Compound is definitely a good bet, but again, not financial advice. Quant. For those trapped in Quant, I know, Aaron, this has been a long struggle for you for these past couple months, June to September. You had the opportunity to scalp and get out. It's hard to tell when you need to get out. But as we saw, Bitcoin had the potential to pull back. This would be the opportunity where you would have had your sell. And then you most likely would have seen this rip back up and you would have tried to enter here, but that would have been a bad decision as Bitcoin was still pulling back, and we saw that pull back, bring it back to the 200 EMA where we got the strength for Quant. RSI is very healthy. It's above the yellow. We're most likely going to consolidate, touch this yellow, and then form a W pattern before pushing up towards this down black trend line. Once that is broken, the next push up, we could expect some little bit of resistance at 134, but ultimately it's tested it twice. And when we can close and hold above that, the next real resistance is 148. On the Fibonacci from this previous high, we could say 618 is right at that 134 where I had talked about, or $130. This is the next resistance at 148, ultimate resistance at 172, and beyond that, we start dealing with the previous Fibonacci retracement, which is all the way up at 280. Beyond that, 440. And yes, that does seem like a lot of money, but keeping in mind you're spending roughly $100, $130 for one coin, to get that 3 or 4x to push up to the previous all-time high around 400. I believe the all-time high that is going to happen is anywhere from 1,000 to 1,500, which is roughly 14 to 15x if you were entering in at that area around 124. Sorry, around this area, I believe, around 124. Keeping in mind that's around 15x, but you have a lot of money that is trapped in there. If you were able to pull out at that 3 to 4x or even a 2x some of the money and then toss it into something like compound, you have the possibility of getting double the amount of coins for the same price. So $100, you're buying 2 compound for the price of 1 quant at $50, and this also has the possibility of 20x as opposed to that 10 to 15x. So you can always diversify and move your money around. And quant is definitely, it's going to move fast when it does. We've seen it happen in the past back here, going from $100 to $169. But now sitting here at 104, it can 10x from this area easily. Keeping that in mind, definitely diversify your portfolio, because while quant can 10 to 15x, BNT, we had our entry at 34 cents down here, and we are currently up over 100%. Not sweating anything, we just need to break this downward trend line. The all-time high for BNT is way higher than the information we have for QNT, given the fact that QNT is definitely a higher utility case token. BNT is similar to XCN, but its all-time high is all the way up here at $20, currently at a 77-cent investment. For every dollar you could get 20, for every $100 you could get 1,000. It seems like a big differential, but definitely investing in smaller coins, the movements are much more violent, and you can start seeing some major gains on smaller coins by diversifying your portfolio, moving from like QNT or something that you may be trapped in into a coin that is cheaper and get more for your money. Which brings me over to XYO. This thing is a beast. We've seen it rip before, like way back here in, what is that, October of 2021. Pushed all the way up to 8 cents, and 8 cents may not seem like much, but from a current 1 cent investment, we could most likely see 16 cents, which is a similar gain to what we would see in XCN, which is why most of my bags are in XYO, XRP, and XCN personally. But once we get over this 200 EMA, this thing is violent. We see this push up is a very drastic push from its previous low around 0.005. I don't know what that is. Around 100% increase before consolidation, before ultimately pushing up for another 426% increase. If we get that 426% from here and go to the all-time high, we are looking at 680% increase for XYO. Does not look as good as some of the other coins I explained, like BNT and Compound. But once we break this all-time high, you can expect double that, going to roughly, 18 cents from this current 1 cent price, which is also an 18x, similar to XCN, but XCN can also hit that new all-time high, making it to 40 cents instead of 18 cents. XYO is definitely a good bet. If you have not stacked a bag, just looking at this downward trend line and the consolidation, the 200 EMA, everything looks phenomenal. Once we get over that 200 EMA, this thing is going to take off. Highly, highly, highly recommended you stack a couple pennies, a couple dollars, couple hundred, couple thousand into XYO. As once we get up to the 23 cents, we may get a little bit of rejection, but we can ultimately push back up towards the 0.04 cents and beyond. Very similar structure to what we were looking at with like Flare, I believe, but XYO, definitely hands down, very good bet. Trying to keep this video short. DNT, violent. This thing is going to be so violent, similar to XYO. I don't know how else to explain it. I have personally a pretty decent sized bag of DNT, as I've seen its pops. They are very, very violent. My prediction previously was around 5 cents. We destroyed my previous prediction and we hit almost 20 cents, 4 times the amount of what I expected the prediction to be, and well over 10 times the amount of the entry point. And that is just to that previous high. The all-time high is at 27 or 25 cents, 26 cents roughly, currently at 2 cents. May not seem like much, but from the 2 cents roughly to the 25 is around 876%, almost a 10x. And that's just to get to the previous all-time high. You could expect a double of that. So it could be around 20% or 20x as well, similar to XCN, XYO, and a lot of the other good ones. Which brings me to GRT. I've ignored this one for a little bit as we have not broken over the 200 EMA, but now we are about to test this 200 EMA and the 10 cent mark, which I've been saying is very strong resistance. When we get over that 10 cent mark, we could expect a little resistance here around 12 cents, but the real ultimate resistance is almost 20 cents, almost double money. The 618 all the way up here at 23 cents, and GRT's all-time high at $3.50. So for a 10 cent investment going to $3.50, that is a very high substantial gains. There are some other coins that may be a little bit more volatile, but 3,800% is not bad ROI for GRT. If you have not entered this, once we get over that 200 EMA, that is where you are looking for your entry. We may get a little rejection from it here, but above 10 cents, throw $1 at it, throw a dime at it, see what happens with the potential ROI. Jumping into XDC, since I skipped it, I actually put in a little bag of XDC as we are testing and flirting with this 200 EMA as well as this upward trend line. We can adjust this as well. And as long as we hold above that 200 EMA, we just need to test this thin black downward trend line once more, and it's off to the races for XDC. That's why I have a tiny bag prepared, as this is in correlation with XRP, XLM, HBAR, all that good stuff. Similar to Flare, I guess. Keep a small bag of XDC and Flare as well as your bigger bags of XRP. NEAR is doing the exact same thing as we had talked about in GRT. Getting above this 200 EMA is important. It is a $2.74 coin. However, the all-time high is up here around $20 as well, roughly a 10x, a little less than 10x, but it could 20x for an all-time high. XRP, beautiful, just beautiful. Broke the downward channel for the fourth touch. Most likely going to test this as support before taking off, but ETFs or the interest rates are most likely going to decrease in these upcoming days, the 16th and 17th of September, and you're going to see a major influx in price, potentially pushing it up to $4.44. And you say, Neil, that's only a 50% increase from a $3 investment. Yes, it's 50% increase right now. There may be a sell-off and then an immediate buyback up around the $3 mark, pushing it up to $15 to $25. However, if you just buy and hold XRP or dollar cost average it, you can stake it with Flare Network or a couple other platforms. Coinbase will allow staking of XRP anywhere from 3 here to 20% APR. And that is phenomenal passive income just from stacking your bag. And when XRP is up at $100 to $1,000, you are really going to wish that you spent $3 or just spent your entire paycheck in XRP to have money that is staked and can earn you passive income while it continues to increase in price and be utilized around the world. XRP and Tornado Cash are like my begging you to purchase this so you can actually say, hey, Neil, you made me substantial gains from your recommendations. Keeping in mind, none of this is financial advice, but XRP, XRP, XRP all the way. Keep stacking it. If you have XCN, when you start taking profits, start sliding it into XRP, whether it goes up or down, as you will not regret it at its current price. Stellar, similar thing, downward wedge, breaking out, similar to XRP. We could see Stellar pushing up to 64 cents. They say XRP or XLM can be hitting $50, so you will regret if you do not buy at 39 cents. I believe once we get past This area of 46 cents, we will no longer see 46 cents as an opportunity ever again. So buying at 39 cents for XLM is not a bad bet. And the last couple, LCX, this is your entry. 15.3, held over the 200 EMA, testing this downward trend line yet again. Once you get over this downward trend line, that is the absolute prime entry. RSI very healthy, volume picking up, or volume decreasing, price increasing. Once it gets over this downward trend line, LCX also has some major utility case, and it is filling out a cup and handle, which typically has a rapid push to the upside, probably around 28 cents, before a little bit of consolidation and a push again towards 40 cents, beyond 40 cents, LCX is taking off. If your entry is at 15 cents, you are sitting pretty and nothing to worry about. Highly recommended, stack a small bag of LCX. H-bars filling out similar to XLM and XRP. Once we get above this downward wedge, it is off to the races as well. So with XRP, XLM, H-bar, and LCX, all are confirmed buys except for H-bar. We do want to see it get above this downward wedge before having an entry. NKN, I brought it up a while ago. God damn, I got so many of these. 200 EMA, once we get over it, we're good. Just keep in mind NKN does have a very high price point and it is at an absolute low. Cookie Dow, I entered this prior to breaking this downward trend line just because it looked very healthy. In the 4 hour zooming in, my entry was when we had that retrace and held support on that 200 EMA. We pushed up over that downward trend line, now test the trend line and 200 EMA as support. It's just a matter of time as the RSI is at the 50 before this thing starts to rip. You can stake Cookie Dow. I'd recommend just taking your profits and wait for the bear market to kick in before staking Cookie Dow or re-entering. But right now is the perfect entry point for Cookie Dow. Thank you for the user that brought that one up to my attention. Sneaking in Sapien. Yeah, so still not a whole bunch of information, but the way we would actually find the next potential points, we hit the 1 retracement, the next potential point is 3.8, next 0.5, and then 0.6. There are other opportunities. I know some are heavily invested into Sapien, so hold your bag, try and see if you can get over that. The bull market or altcoin season is coming, so you may get that push up, but I'd recommend reducing your bag size and diversifying into the other coins that I have talked about. For example, DIMO. DIMO is getting over that 200 EMA and is very violent as well. Last time we made it over the 200 EMA, it was more or less a 698% increase. We are at a lower point and we could see a retracement to that all-time high. If we get that all-time high retracement, that's nearly 1,000% increase. It is better to use the data that you have, like DIMO, as opposed to Sapien, where there's not a whole bunch of data to be going off of. You don't know the highs, you don't know previous Fibonacci levels. It's just more or less gambling, but it does have the potential to do some major movements. And then I'm going to sneak in XVM, BCH, hit a little bit of resistance. The 200 EMA is a little far away. We may be testing that again, but breaking over the 630 is where you would be looking for an entry to that right up to 718. Beyond 718, it definitely has a higher price point, but $600 can go a long, long way in cheaper coins, which brings me into XVM. I was talking about not entering this until we have more data, and I still go with what I said. We have a downward trend line, more or less this, that we need to be breaking to start having better validation, and the upward trend line from here moving upward. So it is getting a little bit healthier, but for the past day, it's been holding around that 0.02 cents. It is BlackRock's investment, so it's definitely not a bad investment. It is a better investment at 2 cents than the people who are buying here at 4, but not a whole bunch of information to go off of. It is an RWA for XRP, so everything is looking positive for it, but we are at nearly a 50% decrease in price from when it started. Could be BlackRock just taking everybody's money. We could see lower lows even with the altcoin season, but most likely we are going to break this downward trend line and start pushing back up towards that 5 cent mark. unknown where it could go after 5 cents, as some of the other cryptocurrencies we've seen have started at a lower price point, and pushing up to 5 cents is astronomical. Currently at 2 cents, that push to 5 cents is not very astronomical, but to each their own. Some people have been stacking their bags from here and are down, so they promote it over and over again, but XVM does have some potential if BlackRock is backing it. And, you know, throw $100 at it, see what could happen from this entry point. You could lose your 100, but you could gain quite a bit from investing in XVM. I do have a short on XVM on how to trade it or use Phantom Wallet, VPN, all that good stuff. But references are in the description below. If you want to trade Tornado Cash or some of the other coins that are on MEXC, the reference is in the description. If you use that, you get 10 USDT free. And like and subscribe. Like and subscribe if you haven't. Good luck. Have fun with it. I will see you tomorrow on the next one.